Welcome to the Emotions Coaching Summit 2024, brought to you by In Good Company, a global coaching training company and founder of the revolutionary Emotions Coaching Practitioner training. If you're inspired today to continue your journey of emotions coaching, then be sure to check out our website at igcompany.co.uk for full details of that course. For now, we invite you to sit back and enjoy the amazing lineup that we have for you today from our expert speakers who are all leaders in their field. Enjoy! Hello and good morning, everybody. How wonderful to see you and for you to be joining our session today. We're joined by Anna Parker-Naples, who I'll hand over to in just a moment. And Anna is an award-winning breathwork expert, that's a tongue twister, Master Practitioner of NLP and founder of the Influential Breathwork company. And Anna's been recognised for her contributions to breathwork as she used it to recover from burnout herself, and is deeply passionate about a new model of success that honours the body and the mind. So I'm really excited to bring Anna in today to share with us her expertise and knowledge about this field. So welcome, Anna, and over to you.
Hey, so good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to be here because I only discovered breath as a coaching tool about 3 years ago. You're going to hear a little bit more about my story as we go on. If you've got any questions today or any comments you want to make, please do pop them in the chat. If we have time at the end, I will answer them then. Yeah, I hope you're going to get something out of this today. I'm sure you will. So I'm also just going to show you just a little quick tip. This is not what the presentation's about, but these slides were created with AI, and it's an app called Gamma, and it is honestly life-changing for anyone in business. So if you ever have to do presentations and you like what you see today, then I highly recommend you go and get this app. Right, here we go. We make it full screen. Okay, so we're talking today about the emotion-breath connection and what you need to know about this so that you can enhance your coaching business. And what I'm actually going to do today is give you free access to what we refer to as our Breathwork Healing Toolkit, which is 7 videos and PDFs that you can use as a coach right now, knowledgeably, safely, and know that you're making a difference to your clients. So I'm going to be making sure you get that link at the end. Actually, it's even flashier than that. It's a QR code because I really have got down with modern technology today. So we're going to be looking at what's this link, the powerful link between emotions and the breath. We're going to be discussing how you can incorporate breathwork into your coaching practice, even without a certification. What are the limits? What are the boundaries? And what are the things you can do in action right now, particularly with the help of what I'm going to share with you? And how you can use breathwork or breath even. Breathwork is a very broad term, but using the breath to enhance your client results and differentiate your coaching business. So let's move on. So I'm going to start here with a little story. Now, on my 17th birthday, I got a gift I hadn't really expected. Now, I have 3 brothers, and my 14-year-old brother was really into Sonic the Hedgehog, and he convinced my mum that since Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was coming out on my birthday, it really ought to be my only and main 17th birthday present. So if any of you had or have annoying siblings who would do annoying things like that to you, I'd love to know. Just let me know that in the chat. But the reason I want to just bring up Sonic today is that I think he's kind of the embodiment of stress and burnout for high achievers. And I'm sure many of you in this room have found coaching because you're a high achiever or because you've had to get over the effects of being a high achiever. So what I'm going to say here then is that when we're in constant drive, when we're in that constant need to get more clients, to get more money, to collect those gold rings, what we're doing is we're pushing ourselves to move faster and faster and do more and achieve more. And actually in our bodies, that leads to chronic stress. And this isn't a way that we can actually continue living. And so many of us now have been in chronic stress, which you'll hear about a lot today, for so long that we don't even realize that it is stress. It has just become our norm. And frankly, I believe that what I've been through in the last few years has been so that I can teach this from a standpoint that's really informative for people. The toll of being like Sonic the Hedgehog, driving at full speed all the time in your business, getting the best results for your clients, having some balance of home life. I mean, I'm a mum of 3 and life is crazy the minute I finish work. And so what's the net effect of that? And for me and many people out there, it results in the initial warning signs and then potentially leading to full-on burnout, which affects everything. I have put here physical and mental health, but actually it affects everything: physical and mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual life. Now, I really feel that with breathwork, we have a bit of an image problem with breathwork. And we've either got the people who are, you know, very beautiful tanned people in sweaty tents in Bali having these wonderful deep experiences. Or on the other end of the scale, we've got men in lycra obsessed with their breathing tech and everything in their body that's going on. And actually, what I want to show you today is that this is a tool that everyone should know about. And it's actually unbelievable, as I've learned this stuff, that we don't know how to use our bodies to this effect. By consciously breathing, that means just putting awareness on the breath, it gives us our very own pause button, which allows us to slow down and reset. So next thing I'm going to teach you, hang on, where have we got to? Oh, I've got an issue with here we go. So just a little bit about me then. I'll tell you a little bit about how I know Zoe and Joe. And it's because they came across me when I was full on growing my personal brand. One of my businesses was as a podcast launch strategist, and I run a podcast agency. I still have that business. And that business was growing at a phenomenal speed. And at the same time, we were having horrendous issues behind the scenes. I have 3 teenagers. I've got older parents. I probably don't need to tell you too much more for you to know that it doesn't take much in my personal life, coupled with some complicated issues legally and reputation-wise that knocked me sideways. It really knocked me for 6. And I reached a point where I got a burnout, and it's actually, I knew I hadn't been feeling right for a few months. I knew that for a couple of weeks I wasn't thinking straight and I was quite emotional, but I still had so much to do. I almost couldn't keep up with myself. And one day I took one of my dogs. I've got I've got 2 Labradors. One is beautifully quiet and calm. Now I have a stupid, crazy puppy as well. But I took this lovely dog out for a walk, and I came over feeling that I was out of control. My heart was beating incredibly fast. It was painful. I couldn't breathe. And at that point, I decided that I had to call someone. I was in the middle of the woods and I couldn't get hold of anybody. I eventually got hold of my dad, who called 111. And with everything that we described to them, they said, look, we suspect she's having cardiac arrest. And unfortunately, all of the ambulances in your area are on strike. So there began a real need for me to sort my health out, to sort out not just my immediate burnout, which they labeled, it turned out it wasn't a heart attack. I was very lucky. It could have been the amount of stress I was under. But they basically said it's just chronic stress. And I knew that it was burnout. I had switched off from anything that I felt passionate about in my life. I knew that I had to make a really big difference, and I knew that I had to be there for my children and the things that were happening around us. Now, at the same time, or just before this happened, I'd actually been invited on a retreat with other leading female business owners, female coaches, to mastermind with Richard Branson on his island. And it's all beautiful and it's all paradise. But actually, it doesn't mean anything when you've got a bit of a shit show going on at home. And that glamorous Instagram lifestyle, well, actually, there was one moment on the way to get to Necker Island. You have to sort of stop at different islands and stay overnight before you get there. All these 5-star luxury resorts, but there was one moment that stood out for me. And that moment was when we were welcomed into the Great House at the top of this paradise where you've literally got a 360 view of the ocean. The lady running the mastermind, who is very connected with Richard and Virginia Knight, unbeknownst to me, was, amongst many other things, a breathwork coach. And when she welcomed me into that house, all she did was put a hand on her chest and look me in the eyes. So I did the same, and we breathed. And it would probably have been for less than 30 seconds. But there was something so powerful, beautiful, and moving. And it was the first time I'd felt like myself for a very, very long time. So I then, a few months later, things really do hit the fan at home. And I'm then, being told, oh, you've potentially got a heart condition. You've got to change what you're doing. And at that point, I decided, okay, breathwork's really calling to me. You know how it is. You think about something and then suddenly it's all over your Facebook feed or your Instagram or your TikTok. And I decided this is kind of my way of doing anything. If I'm curious about something, I really, really want to know all about it. I suspect I have undiagnosed ADHD, and this became my hyperfocus. But what it gave me at a time when I couldn't get out of bed because I was so emotional. I was tired all the time. I just was exhausted. I couldn't think, sleep, breathe. I was a mess, and I needed deep rest. I was really scared that my whole business was going to go down the tube. I was really scared that we'd lost everything financially. I mean, and coupled with that, I had to hold things together for the children. So the reason I share that is I think it's important that we begin to model a new model of success. And my model of success previously is a very long way from where I am now. So I decided that I would sign up on a whim for a short breathwork course, not realizing it was a 6-month intense 400-hour training. And the very first one-to-one I had within that container, doing a process called conscious connected breathing, which is a really rapid breathing style to help you have profound shifts in the way that you're thinking, but all sorts of things happen on a chemical basis for you. I had this insane knowledge drop into me that all of my background in neuro-linguistic programming, all of my background in coaching, all of my background in entrepreneurship, I needed to bring to the fore with this breath stuff. So basically, breathwork helped me deal with the trauma I was going through, release a lot of that emotional baggage. It helped me cope at my darkest moments. And then I began to realize that there are so many things that we don't know about our bodies that we really should. Coupled with that, there's so much research now into trauma, things like Gabor Mate's The Body Keeps the Score. I always get these two mixed up. Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate. I'm sure you've heard of their work. And I was just thinking, well, this is so interesting because in some of that breathing work, things that I had dealt with in coaching and subconscious reprogramming years before, because that was a big part of my work and my journey, actually, when I was doing this deep work that allows for a biochemical change, a biomechanical change, and a somatic release, all of those we'll go into as we go through today, I was releasing them, things that I thought I dealt with, in a completely different way. And quite soon, I felt myself. I felt joyful. I felt like I was accessing my intuition. I felt that I knew why I'd made the mistakes I had, and it was because I hadn't been listening to the warning signs. So I then started to notice that my whole system was in a completely different way pretty fast. So I put together an entire modality, really connecting breath, the functional sides of breath, with how you use breath to access and deepen subconscious reprogramming work, and then how you use it as a somatic tool as well. Now, how do we do this? These, as I said, these are new slides. So let me work out what I have to do next. Okay, before I go any further, first of all, let me know if this has got you a little bit inspired or curious about using breath yourself in the comments, whilst I tell you about my latest hyperfocus, which is LinkedIn. So if you have your phone with you, I would love to invite you to just do a little QR code, because I am sharing incredible content about really how we integrate this in our lives, how we integrate breath, not as just this thing that we know we should do, not as just this thing we remember to do occasionally, but how we actually build it into our everyday lives. And I think for anyone coaching, that's going to be super useful. So, the Hulk. Why is it that the Hulk, when he's just a normal man, can sort of look like he's normal, but then all of a sudden he sees rage and he doesn't go red like most of us, he actually turns green? I mean, it's pretty embarrassing that all of his unmanaged repressed trauma just comes to the fore. And I was seeing this in myself, and I'm sure many of you have noticed, when you get a little bit stressed, all of a sudden you'll be shouting at the kids, or you'll be acting in a way that isn't you. And when you are in that state, you don't feel like you're out of control. And a lot of this is repressed trauma that has been stored in the body. And guess what? Breath is an incredible tool to help you release that. But also, when our clients are in that state and there's things that are repressed so deeply they don't even know them, they're there, and coupled with that, they're in a heightened chronic stress state, well, when we can teach them and guide them to regulate their nervous system and take control of their autonomic nervous system, amazing things can happen. And over time, breathwork can massively help them integrate traumatic experiences. At the same time that these shifts happen so fast that even one session, potentially, if they're in the right place to release it, they feel like they're a whole new person. I have never seen such profound results. So at this point then, I decided that I was going to basically bring this to the world, and particularly to coaches, healers, therapists who are already dealing with client trauma and clients who are wanting to have deep change. And what we're going to really be discussing in the talk today is emotional understanding that you get when you incorporate emotions and the breath, and how that impacts our lives and our decision-making processes. We're going to look a little bit about the physiological connection between breath and emotions, so you understand actually what are you guiding your clients through. And then we're going to have some practical applications that you're going to get hold of, some videos, PDFs that you can absolutely use straight away. So if you think about a client who is going through a really hard time and they say all the right things on the coaching session, and you kind of think, yeah, great, I feel like we've shifted the needle. And then they come back to you a week, 2 weeks, a month later, and they're in the same position as they were or worse. And they've basically not been able to action anything that you felt that you'd had a positive session on. And it can be incredibly frustrating. And part of that is because they are basically offline. Their whole body is in such a, I keep forgetting how to move this thing on, sorry, with my fancy new slides. They're in this chronic stress level. So let's have a look then.
Anna, you've gone on to mute.
Sorry, tech. So I'm not going to spend too long on what emotions are, because I think you'll be covering this a lot today. But essentially, there are neurochemical responses that happen that are like really complex interactions between neurotransmitters and the hormones in the brain and the body. We also have an evolutionary function that the emotions that we have are part of a rapid response mechanism that helped our ancestors to survive. If we didn't have these heightened emotions, we would not have been safe at those times. However, we don't need the degree to which we experience them in everyday life. And then there are psychological, physiological changes, such as heart rate measurability and heart rate variability, blood pressure, many other bodily functions, including but not limited to digestion and brain fog. Hang on. There we go. Okay, I have to remember, it just takes a little while to load. So what we know about emotions then from a psychological point of view is that it's always a subjective experience. One person getting upset might be really valid and true in their model of the world, but somebody else might have exactly the same thing happen to them, but it doesn't affect them. Equally, that first person who is upset at a particular time might shed a little tear or might just feel something inside. If their biochemistry is so heightened because they've been in a stress response without knowing it for so long, then they're going to be much more emotional about something that could be relatively minor. We also know that our cognitive processing, so our thoughts, our beliefs, and how we are processing the world around us, actually then massively impacts our emotions and how we respond to activity. But also, we know that socially, and we are social creatures, our emotions are massively influenced by what goes on around us. And we are influencing our social environment by how we are showing up and how regulated or dysregulated we are. So the cognitive impact of the emotions then is that every emotion we have really colours how we perceive the world around us at any given point. It massively impacts our decision-making ability or lack of ability. And often we make significant choices for our lives that override logic and are not coming from a gut intuition, which would be positive. And part of that is to do with a lack of oxygen and a poor oxygen carbon dioxide exchange that's happening in the body. And guess what can help with that? Breathwork can hugely shift what's going on for your brain. In fact, it can increase your cognitive function by 20% within just a few simple breaths. Our emotions also play a really important role in how we form memories, how we have recall, how we are able to remember or not remember something, how we store it in the box in our brain. And again, these are all affected by somatic processing of memory and also breath. So yeah, loving hearing how people have discovered various types of breathwork have really helped them. So hang on, I've got all of the tabs in front of the text I need to share now. So we also then have the subconscious being massively influenced and influencing the emotions that you feel. And I'm not going to go too much on this, but basically the emotions we feel and the stress that we're under when we feel those emotions become habitual responses that inform our belief systems. Now, some of these things actually relate to early stage little t or big T traumas. But very often our subconscious is blocking out of fear-driven decisions in our subconscious are actually blocking our intuitive gut feelings and intuitive response, which isn't just in your gut. Our entire bodies are receptors and messengers for how we should respond to situations for our best. So some of the somatic manifestations of emotion, somatic being of the body, is muscular tension, digestive changes, and posture, weak posture, poor posture, and also that kind of physical expression of unhappiness or emotion. And what I'd love for you to just pop in the comments is when you know you're stressed or being overly emotional for whatever reason, what are the things you notice in your body that are actually dead giveaways that you're not in a great place right now? Just let me know those in the comments. A tingly face, that's nice. Okay. So in coaching then, this emotional awareness is hugely important, hugely important. And what's interesting about all of the things that you guys are sharing in the comments is that these are, many of them, things that standard coaching are not actually tackling, okay, because they're very physical. And that's the incredible thing about breath as a tool, because not only can we bring someone back into a regulated state, we can do much deeper work when we get them there. We can also take them out of fear. So in terms of you as a coach, you can understand a client much more when you understand more about what's going on for them in a biochemical and biomechanic way by reading their body. You can also, through using the breath, connect and build rapport in a much deeper way, allowing people to trust you more and open up and share things they wouldn't, because you are simply leading with your own breath. And also then you're able to tailor-make interventions that would include breath, that still use your usual coaching methods as the main vehicle for transformation, but they're in a state that they're much more ready to receive it. So what is the link then between the breath and emotions? Well, first of all, when we have a different emotional state, our breathing pattern changes. So if you were to just close your eyes now and imagine being really anxious and think what that breathing pattern would be like, you would probably realize that you had some tension in your chest. You were breathing quite high. There might be a tension in your neck. And when we're in that high stress state and we're breathing where we're activating fast and short breathing, what we're doing is we're taking our sympathetic nervous system right up into that stress level. And the more we breathe like that, we're actually telling our body to continue being stressed because we are not safe and we're in danger. And what's happened in our modern society is that we are, almost all of us, in fact, it's over 90% of us, are breathing in a way that is termed dysfunctional. And it's dysfunctional breathing, dysregulated breathing, is telling your body every time you breathe to continue releasing stress hormones and giving your body warning signs that you're in danger. So what's amazing then about breath is that it's bidirectional. So we can change our emotional state by changing our breath, and we can change our breathing by changing our emotional state. I'm not sure if I said exactly the same thing twice there, but I hope you get what I mean. It's vice versa. So this is the only part of your automatic functions in your body that you can take responsibility for. And when I say only, it actually has your breath and the way you breathe has an impact on every single cell in your body. We're so accustomed in this day and age to being aware that we've got to eat right, we've got to exercise. But nobody's been looking at this stuff until the last 6 to 8 years, where there's been massive research, not only into trauma and stress, but also into literally how we breathe and what that's doing for us on a chemical basis. The other thing is then the other psychological link is that when we breathe, our respiratory rate affects our limbic systems, it affects our brain, it affects neural processing. There's so much stuff that happens. And actually, I feel quite indignant that we haven't been taught this at school. Literally, we are in the vehicle of our body for the whole of our lives, literally from our first breath until the end of our last breath. So what we're looking at here is that the nervous system is massively impacted by breath. The sympathetic response system is often rapid and shallow. That's the fight and flight response. I used to get sympathetic and parasympathetic muddled. So a little hack that I tend to use is S for stress and parasympathetic to bring on peace, P for peace. Parasympathetic response is when it allows us to go into rest and digest. This means we can sleep properly, we can actually digest properly, and our bodies can heal and repair themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when we are in a parasympathetic breathing state, generally we aren't breathing from our chest. We're fully activating our diaphragms. Most of us walk around not even knowing what a diaphragm really is. And we're breathing really low in our belly. I've got my hands right now really, really low, beyond even my belly button. I'm right there on that spare tire. We're really breathing deep and low. And when we do that, what happens is that the diaphragm, that is like a little pizza-shaped disc, that is it's the most important muscle in your body, actually. Your heart wouldn't function if this diaphragm didn't move. And when in modern society, we've got to a point where most of us, our diaphragms only move about up to 2 centimeters with each breath. In tribes and in babies, animals, basically every living being, bar those of us living in modern society who are super stressed, has the ability to move approximately 10 to 15 centimeters with ease every breath they take, which squeezes toxins out of their belly. And it also allows the entire lung capacity to be used. Normally we're using just this part of the lung. Can you see my, I hope you see my little toggle. Can you see that? I'm kind of pointing in all sorts of interesting places, and I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, we're following you.
Yes. Okay. So basically, we tend to just use this portion here of our lungs. Our lungs go right to the back. They start right up here. And actually, the most sort of nutrient and oxygenated cells in the lungs are right down here. but we're not even accessing them when we're in that stress breathing. Now, what causes stress in everyday life? Well, being on Zoom calls, every time your phone has a notification, a ping, every time there's an email, basically anytime you watch TikTok or whatever else you doom scroll through, it's affecting and keeping you in a stress state, and you don't even realize because it's become your norm. Heart rate variability is massively impacted. So basically, just a very quick little recap here. When we are healthy, every time we have a heartbeat, it's not actually completely rhythmical. And when we're healthy, there should be more time and space between each heartbeat. Now, when we are in a sympathetic state, the stress state, this is really tight together and much more regulated. And actually what we need for our body to be healthy at its healthiest, we need then we need much more variation there. And breath can help with that. It massively improves your ability to have good heart function. So what's important about this is that when you can explain to your clients in really simple terms, look, not only are we going to take you into this peaceful, relaxed, calm state so that we're having a biochemical reaction, literally your blood is going to be different, but you're also then able to lead with them that this is important so that their heart is healthier, right? As simple as that, even if it did nothing else, that in itself is crucial. Okay. So we also know that the breath influences our hormones. So when we are able to breathe deeply and fully, we're able then to decrease the amount of cortisol that we have. We have so much cortisol in our blood right now, in our whole system, that is causing us to continue to be stressed. The more cortisol we have in our body, the more signals are going to our brain to keep us breathing high and fast. We're also then able, through deep breathing, to release and increase the oxytocin, which makes us feel really good and happy and connected in relationship. And also then when we decrease the breathing, have that deep lower breathing, we're able then to have many more endorphins going. And we all know they feel good, right? So you can access through breathwork a faster emotional access to whatever's going on with them. We can get much deeper into the memories and the story, the things that have happened to them, because their body holds the score, their body holds the memory. And the breath is often that first access to go in, because it's the first time someone's looking inside them for a long time. Breath is literally the key or the window. We can help them to have better self-regulation by getting them into that parasympathetic state, which helps the vagal nerve as well, which is brilliant for calming you down. And also just making them much more that they are not just their thoughts. We are bodies. And there's this two-way synergy between the mind and body. And the more we can remember that we are a whole system, and it's not just our thinking output that matters, the greater release that people are going to have. So the technique that I ended up putting together through all sorts of research and training that I've done over the years is called the breath healing release modality. And we incorporate basically 5 levels of release, which you just don't get in any other type of coaching. So what we teach people first of all about the physical and functional side of their breathing. And that's crucial for getting you into understanding what you need to do in order to optimize your oxygen intake, to optimize your carbon dioxide exchange, to get the biomechanics of your body breathing. Like literally, how do we get you to open up your chest, your shoulders and allow it to become something that happens naturally? What do you need to do to change your regular breathing so that you can sleep better, so you can have conscious, better cognitive processing? It starts there. Then we look at what happens consciously. So what breathing techniques do you need to do when you need to be at peak performance, when you need intense focus, when you need to be balanced and calm in a difficult situation? What do you need to do when you want to get into flow or creativity? So we look at that as well. Because when we can release our brain's capacity to work at its best, we're winning life, right? We also know in coaching that the subconscious has a massive impact on how people think, feel, and behave towards others and about themselves. The interesting thing about certain breathwork techniques and certain breathing exercises is that it can take people into a much deeper brainwave state and access a deeper level of trance than even some types of hypnosis, because we're very quickly putting the body in a different chemical response. So we can use the breath to do that as well. And then the somatic piece. So we are, as we know, through people like Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk and Janina Fisher, we're storing complex traumas in our body that can be there for decades. And breath work, and again, particular exercises, can help you release this in a way that no talking or coaching or subconscious reprogramming can do. And I say that having been in the NLP space for a very long time. And I believe that subconscious reprogramming took me from being disabled 15 years ago to fully recovered within 2 years after being told I'd never walk again. So when I say to you that I used to think that the subconscious reprogramming was the be all and end all, but there's something very special that happens when these things all come together. That's no exaggeration. I think this stuff is magic, except it's not, it's science. And then there's an energetic release, and it depends where you sit on that scale of spirituality. But at core, what we see in people is that through changing their breathing, there's a shift in how blocked they feel, and they literally feel as though they have profound insights, connection to inner wisdom, or a sense of joy and flow that hasn't been in their life previously. So how can you build relationship and connection through breath? Well, first of all, as a coach, you can synchronize your breathing with your client pretty early on in a session where maybe they're really heightened and you want to bring them down. We match and mirror. And I'm sure you will have heard about that in coaching, but the more you know about breath and how effective this is, the more you're going to want to do that. Conscious breathing also helps coaches to have their own enhanced presence, for you to be grounded and focused. Because sometimes there are things in coaching sessions that are actually quite uncomfortable to hear. Or sometimes we might worry we don't know how we can get them through that. We have that slight fear as a coach. Maybe I don't have the skills. I'm sure you've all been there with that little imposter syndrome head rears its ugly voice. And then also, as a coach ourselves practicing breathwork before, during each session that we do, it improves our ability to listen deeply, and not just to the words, but listen from a physical space as well, from that felt sense and intuition. So I talked earlier about the Hulk and Sonic the Hedgehog. And I wanted to kind of bring in Yoda, because I think we all know he's really smart, that guy. And nothing really phases him because he's really balanced. Now, he accesses a lot of wisdom, and he can make great decisions, even difficult decisions, with ease and balance. And really what breath is about is developing an extended and expanded personal growth ability, and also expanded levels of consciousness. But who actually wants to live like Yoda all of the time? We don't necessarily. But what we can do is take some of the qualities and the abilities to access these much more conscious and mindful states and bring them into our everyday life, so that we are not the stress bunny or Sonic the Hedgehog. So I was just looking yesterday at various quotes around breathing and emotional regulation. And this particular study reported that there was a 75% improvement in I think there was about 300 people in this study. 75% improvement in, 75% of people in the study said there was an improvement in their emotional regulation, their ability to self-maintain and self-course correct, if you like. I love this quote. By changing patterns of breathing, we can change our emotional states, alter our physiology, and influence our perception of stress. Some stress is just in our head. We're saying the same things over and over again and stressing ourselves out. But actually, it's much more than that. It starts in the body. So the ICF in 2020, in a report they did, found that there was a 40% increase in client satisfaction and engagement. And there was actually a subsequent part to this, which was about long-term, what's the word? I want to say staying on the path, actually doing the things that they've said they're going to do in coach sessions. So not just client satisfaction, them feeling good, but actually making the changes when breathwork is incorporated. So with your client, you can have little check-ins in between sessions. You can give them specific breathing exercises to do. You can get them to track their stress levels. So they are much more self-aware when they come to your session, and you'll get better results for them. So the key takeaways here then is that there is a huge connection between breath and emotion. It's a really powerful link, and it enhances our ability to coach effectively. In terms of practical application, breath can be incorporated in so many different ways to fit with what you do in your business right now and to enhance it as well. There's also huge growth in this market in terms of breath work. Breath work and breathing are really broad terms, and there are so many different applications for it. We're also seeing more and more in the press about breath, and there's something like a 400% increase in people looking for breathwork coaches right now. It's also believed that it's going to be, at the moment, it's a 2.1 billion % industry. By 2028, it's expected it's going to be a $10 billion industry. So the growth is really happening. So Wonder Woman. Now, the great thing about Wonder Woman is, yes, she's a bit of a sex pot, but her hair looks amazing, and she's a bit badass, but she's not stressed, right? She is in the middle of a fire. She's cool, calm, collected, and together, right? She's ready for anything. There's a shit show going on around her, as I'm sure there are in many of your lives right now, but she's got it together. So how can we be more like that and manage our inner chaos when there is outer chaos around us? And the first thing really is to begin with looking at functional breathing functional breathing exercises, learning how to access that deeper rhythm of breath that is optimal for you. You can also then use breath work to help people to deepen their subconscious reprogramming, to empower them and to get rid of those negative narratives once and for all. We can use it to release really deep-seated traumas somatically. And actually, one breathing session that might even last half an hour, that was like a longer breathwork journey. Well, actually, people can come out of those feeling like they've had more than a deep tissue massage, because they've literally taken that stress, those toxins, and released it from their body, which comes out through the breath. We're able then to regulate the nervous system, which allows you to keep that calm, cool, and not snap at the kids every 5 minutes. And better mental and physical strength, purely through better oxygenation of the body, and also having an awareness of how we breathe, how we strengthen those breathing muscles. So the thing I want to share with you now, so this is the time to get your phone out again. One of the things we have is this breathwork healing toolkit that was put together because there's some breathing exercises that aren't safe for everyone to use, but I wanted to have something that everyone could use with their clients right now. So there are 7 videos in there, and each video has a PDF resource on how to use it, and exactly what you tell your client. And so that is totally free for you to use. And then again, while you've got your phone out, if you pop it again, here's my LinkedIn obsession. I've set myself a hard and fast growth on LinkedIn. But really, the more you can lean into using your breath to center yourself, the better you're going to feel. You can start to explore breathwork in your own personal practice, even 5 minutes a day of certain breathing exercises. Again, those that are in that toolkit, that's a great place to start. What happens when you understand how you can use those tools for yourself? You'll be calmer, you'll be a better coach yourself. What happens when you can start to lead or incorporate breathwork, breathing exercises or gentle breathwork into your coaching sessions? Amazing, good things. And also breathwork has a huge community aspect in that we're able to really connect with people on a much deeper level when we connect from a place of centeredness, groundedness, and not from the high stress and fear. And obviously, as Zoe introduced earlier, I now run the Influential Breathwork Academy. We've been triple accredited for the work that we're doing, combining coaching elements, subconscious reprogramming, and somatic release with the breath. And yeah, I hope you have found this interesting. I'm just going to try and find my last slide. Oh, that was the last slide.
Thank you, Anna. Would you be able to go back to the QR code?
Yeah, well, I say yes. I say yes. We'll do that one.
That's the one. Yeah.
So, are there any questions, Zoe, that you've seen in the chat, or do you want people to? What's the best way to do this? We've got
I haven't seen any questions. There's a lot of love for your session throughout the whole session. Lots of people appreciating what you're sharing, and I don't know about anybody else, but I was so conscious of my breathing throughout that entire session. Just like, oh, where am I breathing from? So we do have 4 minutes maximum, Anna. So if there's anything else you'd like to share or pick up. So I think I just saw a question.
Are the exercises suitable for people with cancer diagnosis? Yes, all of the breathworks I've shared are the only ones that are contraindication free. Anything beyond what I've shared, you really shouldn't be doing. And there's lots of free apps out there. There's lots of really big names in breath right now who are actually not giving the full information about the risks of breathing. That's all I'm going to say on that one. One of the best sessions I've ever been on. That's amazing. Can't wait to get stuck into the toolkit. The name of the app is Gamma, Gamma. I think it's .app, and if it's not .app, it's .ai. There's also another one called Beautiful.ai. But this whole slideshow, not that I wasn't prepared, I had to put quite a lot of prompt into it. The whole thing took me 30 minutes. It basically creates it within about 30 seconds, and then I've gone in and changed some of the images. Do I work with teenagers too? Yes. I don't do so much work one-on-one now, but my students and graduates do. We've actually got our first graduate has just become the very first ever Harley Street breathwork coach, which is cool. And quite a few of the graduates are specialising in different areas of breath. Several of them really wanting to work with teenagers and parents who are managing very challenging situations with teenagers. And if any of you have been there, you will know without me saying too much what that's like. How do you introduce this as part of a more general coaching program? Training it, but it's probably the answer. Just go and look at how simple those exercises are. But because they're simple doesn't mean that they're not really effective. And also I have a YouTube channel called Influential Breathwork, where it's still quite embryonic, but we are dropping in every week a bit of information about breathing. And also we've got a whole bank of breathing exercises we're going to put out there, as well as the longer, deeper guided breathwork journeys and other visualization techniques. So there's a whole load of resources out there for free.
We always say to our clients, Anna, that if you introduce something with the power that it's the most amazing thing that you're inviting someone to do, your clients are likely to meet you in that energy.
Yeah.
So it might be about exploring your own resistance to trying breath work as an initial step, and then you feel more at ease to share it with others.
It's also not what you think it is. It's not whatever you think breath work is, it's not. And I like I said, there's an image problem, and I have made it my mission. I'm going to bring this in. I want this to be in schools. I want this to be in corporate. Can you imagine boardrooms, how different they would be if people were regulated? Even, high conflict situations, and even politics. If people knew this and it was agreed, everyone's going to do this before we sit down to talk, it would be completely different. Schools would be completely different if right from the word go, the most important thing they were teaching children was not how to learn things about history they're never going to have to look at, but how to use their own vehicle they're going to be in for their entire life. Much more better. Brilliant English.
Well,
I've
Anna,
just seen that link's not working. So if anyone tell you what you can do, go find me on LinkedIn, follow me and DM me, and I will send you the link directly, because LinkedIn is my new hyper focus. So
Thank you, Anna. It's been an amazing session, and I can see so much love and gratitude for you in the chat. So really appreciate you sharing your time and space with us today. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to leave this call now because we need to make way for the next one. So if any of you are looking for the next session, you'll need to rejoin the link. And for now, Anna, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Great. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.